Dun, 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 dun. Hey guys, it's Chris Richardson, and I'm kind of excited because I just got a pack from Landsurf. And if you've ever opened up any of the stuff from Landsurf, he has the best packaging in the game. It's like opening something from Apple, like when you get your new iPhone and you get all the fancy packaging. So we'll see what we got. We've got more fangs, spare fangs. Got to keep the fangs fresh. That's awesome. Did not expect those. And Pint bumper wheels. These were just announced today. Hello. I'm leaning in because I'm afraid to move the camera because I think I've got it set just right so you can see what I'm doing here. This is Chris Richardson, and I want to review the bumper wheels for the Pint Fangs. A lot of people have been wanting these. A lot of people have been requesting them. It is an injection molded bumper, and it feels a lot like the Future Motion bumper. Let's see how well you can see this here. It is injection molded. You can kind of see how it looks a lot like the Future Motion bumper. Hard plastic, and inside those access points, it is user serviceable. You can change your own wheels and bearing. Your inserts are molded in just like on the factory bumpers. It's a bumper replacement, but it happens to include wheels. Custom wheels with, according to the manufacturer, custom titanium axles. And look at that, there's almost no play in there. Very nice, tight fit, very smooth rolling, and a handle, a little grip handle. A hell of a lot better than what you get from the factory. Now, what I think this may be interesting to a lot of people, beyond the fact that it's, you know, Pint Fangs, is that I have the solo plate on here. And even the manufacturer does not know if this will work with the solo plate. This, I may be the first person to find out. I do not know whether or not this will work with the solo plate, so this could be a failed adventure if I want to keep my solo plate. I really would like to try these though. I have been riding Fangs on the XR for a while, and I really like them. I've been putting them on all my boards. There's some tricks you can do with them. It's nice to be able to just nudge up things so much smoother and easier. But one of the things I like about the XR Fangs is that they're inboard a little bit. They're kind of inside this edge on the XR, and the reason I like that is that when you do a really hard turn, cornering and tilted it down either with your heels or your toes, usually it'd be your toes, I like to be able to go deep enough to scrape that edge of the board. These are a little bit more outboard, which should be more stable, but the wheels may hit a little bit earlier than usual. So it's a very minor technical point. For most people, that's not going to affect the way you ride at all, but for a tricks rider, it may. So let's put this on. I undid the screws first to see, to just speed this up a little bit. And Matt recommended that I take off the fender delete screws as well. I didn't quite understand why, but I am happy to follow instructions. So we're going to try it out, see how well it fits. Let's see if I can get this off without having to remove the solo plate completely. If you have a solo plate from the Float Life, one of the things that they have to do, unfortunately, not their fault, I don't know how else I would do it, is that you have to use some adhesive, double stick tape, VHB adhesive tape. So there's some here on both sides, and there's some here, because there are screw holes from the factory in your Onewheel Pint in the back, but not up here. And so rather than having a gap here, they had to do something, so they have adhesive here and adhesive here in the middle. There's no adhesive in the front. So I'm hoping I can get away with just peeling it back, pulling out my factory bumper, and then putting in the new one. Let's see if it'll come out easily. I don't know if you remember from my other video that to remove the front bumper, the best way that I've found to get the most leverage is to take your thumbs and push forward and pull with the fingers here. So we got a contradictory motion there, and look how well that works. Slides out. Clean the inside of the rails a little bit here. Clean off the nice control module. So you can see now a direct comparison. Looks very, very similar to a factory pad bumper. Very, very similar. So it's going to be a really direct replacement, except you'll have wheels and you'll have a little bit of a handle up here. Let's see. Now, if you've seen my other video about pint bumpers, due to a manufacturing error, lack of tolerance, whatever you want to call it, the bumpers don't always line up perfectly, and I had to drill out a couple holes on the bottom to make everything line up. What we're hoping for is for it to line up on the bottom. Let's see what we got. It looks pretty close. It's probably going to be impossible to show on the camera, but I can see the brass insert here. That's a good sign. I can see the brass insert here. And now if you imagine the factory bumper versus the pint bumper inside your Onewheel, the profile should be the same. And so what that means is that whatever hardware you have, whether you were using your factory Onewheel hardware or your solo plate hardware, they both should fit. And they both should fit because the thickness of the Onewheel will not change because of your fangs. And now, as I look here, and if you can see here, this solo plate seems to fit perfectly along the curve of the pint and the new Fangs bumper. The wheel is getting really close to the solo plate plastic. Like really close. It does not appear to be touching. I'm going to take the camera, I'm going to try to take the camera in really close here because I think this is a pretty important point to make here and to see. Let's see how close we can get with this. Take a look there at that gap. It's really close. So if this thing was really smashed, would it hit the wheel? I actually don't think so. It looks perfect. It looks really, really, really close, but not close enough that anything would make contact between the wheel and your solo plate. Now, if I wanted to be really, really careful and really, really diligent, just to make sure that never ever happens, I could take a razor knife and trim just a little bit right here. Am I the kind of guy to do that? I think you know the answer to that. I'll be right back with a razor knife. Something so simple, why not? So what I'm gonna do, pull it away obviously. Try not to get anywhere near the wheel with the razor knife. Always cut away from yourself. That actually was probably enough right there. Tiny little sliver of plastic is probably enough that that wheel will never make contact. And there, now you've got an even better gap. I'm just gonna hold this up here. Even better gap. Nice little gap there. The same thing on the other side, just for extra safety. Not that it's really a safety issue either, anyway, I don't think. But there you go. That thing's never gonna hit. I doubt it ever would have anyway. So let's see if everything lines up well, because it's pretty encouraging already that I just slid it right in. The holes seem to be lining up. Let me take my solo plate Float Life hardware. And I'm not using power tools anyway, but I just always remind people not to start your screws with a power tool, because you really do not want to be cross-threading screws on your pint. Kind of nice thing about the pint is that the worst case you'd be cross-threading screws on your fangs, not your entire board. Looks like everything is lining up perfectly here. And for those who were curious about whether or not your solo plate is going to work with your new Pint Fangs, you are in luck. I did not have to rip the VHB back here. I did not have to do anything to modify the board. Screw holes are lining up fine. Now the manufacturer did tell me to take off all the fender delete screws, and I did. I took off all the foot pad screws, and we are installed. And I think one of the questions people are going to really want to ask is, does the handle really work? We'll see. Handle works like a champ. It's right where it should be. Works fine with the solo plate. Handle's grippy. Oh my God, I'm gonna love the handle. All right, so I'm gonna screw everything back together, and then I'm gonna try and ride it. That's the important thing. See how well it rides, and we'll continue the video later. 2 quick notes before I go ride this thing. One is when I started putting it back together, the factory bumper uses the really small screws that it uses for almost everything. The new Fang bumper uses longer screws. They're both in there, so you won't see it. So make sure you open your hardware pack. You'll use the 2 medium length screws. Your pack with the Fangs includes 2 long screws, 2 short screws that are the same length as the factory black screws, and then 2 that are a little bit longer than these. And I had to use those to put it on. Fit fine, fit perfectly. The second thing I wanted to show is we're talking about how the plastic got really close on the solo plate to the wheel, and I trimmed just a tiny bit in there. What I didn't think about is, are the wheels actually going to hit the ground with a solo plate, or is a solo plate going to hit first? Let's see. Now, can you see that? It's really close, but the wheels do hit first. You do get Fang wheel roll. And so you've got maybe a millimeter. So yeah, they work perfectly as intended. And so really, you're literally losing almost no ground clearance. If you have a solo plate, it's even less ground clearance differential than on the XR Fangs. I mean, it's really close. Really close to the ground. And now we can actually we can do a third little quick test here. One of the things I liked about the XR Fangs is that when you make a really tight turn, you don't hit the wheels to the ground. Here you will. You can see that. This is really close. You can see the solo plate almost on the ground. The wheel is touching the ground on a really tight corner where you actually intend to scrape the ground, which almost nobody does, but I like to do. The difference here too is that if I was grinding this solo plate, it would kind of roll a little bit more predictably. Here, the wheel's going to track. I really don't think that's going to be a big difference or a big deal. Just, I'm covering everything in the way that I would want to know about how it works. So now after the next cut, you'll get to see how it rides. Video rolling. All right. Let's go take these Fangs for a spin. Do you wanna, neighbor? If you wanna go and take a ride with me, we're 3-wheeling in the Pint with the Fangsies. Oh, why? I'm gonna get sued by Nelly. I'm gonna get one of those copyright strikes or whatever. All right, I literally have not ridden these yet. Had not powered the board on with these new Fangs. Let's see if I can. I cannot do the knee squeeze, hold the camera without shutting the board off. All right. Try them out. Roll backwards, roll forward. They roll just fine. Roll just fine. Nice and smooth. They roll with confidence. I'm not one of those heavy Fang draggers where you go 24 miles an hour. They're holding up just fine. Even on this hard asphalt, they're not hitting the solo plate. It's hitting the fangs instead of the solo plate. Now, like I said, one of the things that I thought on the XR, I haven't ridden the Pint version, but on the XR, I felt that the Carbon Smith, it would hit too early on hard turning. If you got the nose down, turning hard, like let's say a backside turn, the wheels would hit the ground way too early and I would lose some of my turning ability that I enjoy. Let's see how it is on the Pint. So, I'm gonna see if I try to turn really, really sharp. I can hit the wheel. You gotta turn really sharp to hit that wheel on the ground. I just don't see that happening under normal circumstances for anybody. I mean, I do it on purpose like this, trying to balance on it just because I enjoy that. But it's hitting the wheel. It's not hitting the side of the board. It's hitting the side of the wheel, which is what it should do. And the wheels are rounded. The Fang wheels on the XR, they don't hit the ground at all, so it doesn't matter, but they're flat. These wheels are rounded all the way around the edge, so you get that nice, you get more of that turn. I can turn deeper into that carve without them touching the ground. I cannot see a downside to this. I'm telling you, I mean, really, what would be the downside to putting these on your board? Honestly, tell me. Because I can't think of one. I cannot think of a reason that you would not do this. If you like the idea of having a little bit of safety, maybe if you're climbing a really steep hill, it's going to roll on wheels instead of scraping your board or your plates. There's going to be color choices for these. You just can have that confidence. If you, oops, I just mashed it a little bit too hard, I'm going to roll on wheels with bearings, with titanium axles. These things are never going to fail. If you've got a kid and you're worried about your kid hot-shotting on his Pint, and if they're going to nosedive it, I mean, if you get past that crazy pushback. I'm really impressed. These things, it's durable. It feels like the same kind of hard plastic as what you get with a Future Motion bumper, but you get the added security of wheels. Works just fine. Okay, so yeah, this is another review. This is for the Landsurf Pint Fangs, something a lot of people have been excited to get. You know, I review a lot of things, and I'll tell you honestly, if there's any downsides to it, there are things that I try out and I don't leave on my board. But this is one of those things that I got no reason to take it off. This will stay on my Pint. I will use them. They will not get in the way of any tricks, and they work perfectly with the solo plate from Float Life. I haven't tried it with any other type of plate mechanisms or whatever, but it looks like it was designed for the Float Life solo plate. Works perfectly. And check this out. Envy my handle. Envy it. It works great. The solo plate on the Float Life actually has a little bit of an indentation too, and it works. But this is more comfortable. This is a more positive grip. If you want to compare this and this is this is as good as it can get. I mean, they did a great job on that. Float Life gets all credit for that. But this is more comfortable. You now have a natural handle, just like you have on your XR. I prefer it to the mag handle, I think. Because, I mean, really, you got to stop, pick this thing up sideways. The tire's touching your leg. The mag handle was like an answer to a problem that apparently did not need to be. So there's another review. I hope you guys learned something about it and it helped you make an informed decision on whether you want to spend your money on the Pint Fangs. So if you like the idea of these Fangs, pick them up, enjoy, and as always, let me know what you think. Let me know if I'm wrong, if I'm right, or if this was helpful for you. So it's Chris Richardson signing off.
Hello, Fang fans. How would you like to win your very own free set of Fangs from Landsurf? All you got to do is like, subscribe, and leave one and only one comment on this video, and you'll be entered to win. I'll pick a winner in about a week or so. Good luck.